A huge welcome to everyone who is able to join us today. So excited to share a little bit about this program and how you all can get started, whether you are an organization, a company that is looking to take advantage of this incredible opportunity to expand your talent pipeline through engaging this unique micro-internship program. Or maybe you are a higher education institution and are a new beneficiary of this expanded program. Again, so excited to have you join us, hear a little bit more about the program, and most importantly, that you will not be hearing from me the entire time. Because I am joined today by two incredible panelists, and we'll talk more about who they are in just a few minutes. But looks like the Zoom room's fully populated, so we'll officially get up and running. And again, welcome. My name is Kristen Schrader, and I lead our partnerships team here at Parker Dewey, which means that I get to interface with higher education institutions, nonprofit organizations, and to some extent companies who are all looking for ways to support students and or early career talent and connecting them to the right opportunities at these companies that are eager to hire early career talent. Our mechanism for doing so is through micro-internships, and I'm sure that's not a foreign concept for most of you. But for the purpose of today, what I want us to do is focus first on this Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation Micro-Internship Program. For many of you, this is probably a new thing. So again, we're excited to tell you about the logistics, how you can get started, whether you support students or whether you are looking to use the platform for your own needs and purposes. And then I am excited to share the floor with, again, our two incredible panelists. So joining me today are William Cornegay from Florida A&M University. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a few moments, as well as Tanisha Roundtree from Orange Theory Fitness. So huge welcome and thank you to all of us joining, and especially to our panelists for taking the time today to join us. But I will go ahead and just go over a few nuts and bolts. And yes, the session is recorded, or is being recorded, excuse me. Yes, we're happy to send the slides out in case any of these are useful for you to share with your peers. And yes, we're monitoring the chat. And so if you have questions top of mind, please feel free to pop those in the chat, and one of my amazing colleagues will be getting back to you. We'll answer those as close to real time as we can. But a huge thank you that I also need to say is to the incredible Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation. And just to give you all a bit of a background, the foundation was created from the family of the late Frederick A. DeLuca, who was the founder of the Subway restaurant chain. The foundation itself has nothing to do with the restaurant. This is a separate family-run enterprise that supports a variety of different initiatives around education, career development, job placement. It has ties to both Florida and Connecticut, as well as to supporting individuals from historically underrepresented backgrounds. And you'll see those two themes echoed again in the implementation of this micro-internship program. Now, we at Parker Dewey received this grant at the end of last year, and initially to support students in Connecticut and Florida. But as you'll hear in a little bit, due to the incredible success of the program thus far, and particularly how the program has been implemented and to great success from Florida A&M University and William Cornegay, under his leadership, as well as Dr. Bill Means, we recently received permission to expand the program to now serve all historically Black colleges and universities, as well as a list, again, we'll share this with you, of Hispanic serving institutions that are part of the HSI Career Collaborative. So again, more to come, but that's a bit of background, and we'll share all these slides if you do want to learn more, click on the links, etc. And I'm sure most folks are very familiar with micro-internships, but just a couple of nuances in case this is a bit of a new concept, or maybe the wheels were already starting to turn in your minds about how and where this could fit in to some of these other strategies around experiential learning and recruiting. First of all, micro-internships are short-term paid professional projects. generally 10 to 40 hours, but they're not something that's designed to take X number of weeks or to require a ton of onboarding or be some heavy lift for a hiring manager. It's designed to be something that's very easy, quick to implement for both students and for companies. And hopefully you'll see that in terms of how the system operates if any of you haven't used the Parker Dewey platform thus far. Core to this flexibility, though, and the fact that these are shorter opportunities, is that it does allow the opportunity for students who come from a zillion different backgrounds, who have a zillion different constraints and demands of their time, to be able to engage. Rather than the student who has to commit 10, 12 weeks to do a traditional internship, this allows them access as early as their freshman year, in some cases even before that, to be able to engage in these short-term projects all throughout their 2, 4, or however many years they're in pursuing their degree and onwards. And what we have found is that through the flexibility of the model, through making sure that they are paid, that this has allowed students from thousands of colleges and universities across the country to participate in micro-internships, but over 80% of whom are coming from historically underrepresented backgrounds. We're really, really proud of that. However, it really has nothing to do with Parker Dewey itself. This is who is getting selected. These are the students. These are how amazing these students are, who come from, again, all these eclectic mixes of backgrounds that represent American higher education. They are all paid, and you can see the price point for a typical micro-internship between $300 to $500, 90% of which goes to the student. But we'll talk more about the pricing and so on tied to the DeLuca program in just a minute, because I have very good news about that. And we are finding, though, that organizations who are using these at scale, who are not just hiring one student for one odd project, but who are maybe hiring one student and realizing how amazing that student is and then sharing it with their colleagues, with their HR teams, with their recruiting teams, and so on. And you'll hear more about that from Tamisha shortly. Are really seeing that this is an advantageous additional way for their hiring managers to connect with amazing students from across the country. It's resulting in a lower cost per hire. It is resulting in increased diversity, equity, and inclusion in their early career workforce. And it's becoming a really powerful complement to all of the other things that companies are doing on campus, career fairs, info sessions, and the like. And so that being said, for the DeLuca program exclusively, for students, you can see some categories here. Again, the eligibility criteria: if the student attends a school or has graduated from a school in Connecticut or Florida, 2-year college, 4-year university or college, doesn't matter, any HBCU or HSI career collaborative member, they're automatically eligible to apply for and complete any of the micro-internships funded by this program. So they do have to be at least 18 years of age. And so that's just because of US labor laws and making sure that they have to be a legal adult to be able to do these opportunities. And they also have to have authorization to work in the United States or a valid ITIN, or individual tax ID number. So again, happy to elaborate more offline on some of those criteria. Companies, however, you've got a little bit more, or I should say a lot of bit more opportunities, as this is for-profits, nonprofits, government organizations located across the United States. You're all welcome to participate, no matter where you're physically located. And we've already seen the geographic diversity of the companies who are engaging in the program when it was just focused on Connecticut and Florida. And we're very excited to allow you to reach candidates now from across the country. And yes, you can post multiple projects as well that are funded through this program. So a few other details that I'm sure are top of mind. The timeline itself, the program starts now. It's already started. In fact, we've already had those of you who are attending a school that are part of a school that's newly affiliated. We've already had a handful of HSI students that are selected this week for projects. The program will run through 2023. So long as funding is still available. Logistically, Parker Dewey handles the payment to the students, just like any opportunity on our platform. All we ask of the companies that have posted the projects is to then just let us know that the project's been completed, and we take care of the rest. For schools who are working with students, This makes it easier for them so that they don't have to play collections agent and ask, okay, where's my, again, it makes it easier. They also can do multiple projects and only have to go through the HR and payroll systems when they first get selected for that initial project. These projects can also be on site. However, we strongly recommend virtual whenever possible, just so that it's more accessible to students wherever you or they might be. And as always, with every micro-internship on the Parker Dewey platform, if you find a student and they are amazing, you want to add them to your talent pipeline, hire them for that open internship slot or full-time role or whatever, there is no cost for an organization to do this. That is one of the major goals for this program. It's something that we are super excited to see already happening and continue to see and hope to see in the future. So organizations, so companies, just want to give you a quick overview. How does it work from your end? And then where the students can plug in as well. But it's as simple as posting your project, selecting the student that you want to work with, and the student does the work. And the work gets done. And I'll go into details about each of these in just in a few seconds here. But we do have a landing page that has already been developed for this program that when you select one of the templates, or if you select to post a custom project, that will automatically pre-populate the project with a brief description, the estimated number of hours, and so on. It's already tied to this program. So you don't have to worry about the pricing. You don't have to worry about it going to being visible by students that aren't eligible and so on. Click from the custom templates and you're good to go. From there, the project itself is seen by the students. And as long as you keep that Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation affiliation, and again, you can zoom in a little bit more to see that, that's what it looks like when you're posting the project. Or if you have an affinity for students at a specific college or university that's eligible for this program, you can X out that little affiliation and add one or more schools to the section that's on the screen. And then your project will only be seen by students at that school or schools. Regardless, those students will see it, they apply, and from there, they're able to see you're able to see the candidates who have proactively raised their hand and said, I want to work on your project. And you can see who they are, you can see their profile, you can see their LinkedIn account and so on, review those short answer questions, pick who you want to work with, and then from there, the work gets done. So reach out to the student, have a little overview via Zoom about how you want to work with the student. Once the student has been selected, they're getting kickoff information from Parker Dewey about how to set up their account via our payroll system. And if they need help, we give them some different resources. Again, we handle the payment. So administratively for you companies, it's really have that initial Zoom meeting and then maybe an email or two, depending on what the project might need to stay in touch with the student, but the student's doing the work, so you don't have to. And just to give you one other additional idea, what we're seeing from companies, again, who are using this at scale, is that this can help to fill in a variety of different pain points. And so again, if you're a company or maybe you're a school that is talking to employers day in and day out, and they're saying, I'm facing some of these challenges. I want to reach students earlier, first year students, second year students, or I want to have students know more about who we are. They have a misconceived notion about my organization and so on. The handout that one of my colleagues will plug into the chat and that you'll certainly have access to later on. It is not only an illustration of what these pain points might be, but some data-driven evidence for how micro-internships can help address that specific pain point and what students have said about that particular use case, or how micro-internships have helped them to get to know a company better, or to start to explore careers and what is the right fit for them as a first or second year student and so on. So I see the question that just came in the chat, how does Parker Dewey make money? And one thing I will be clear about when it comes to the payment when posting the opportunity. So you will see, and I'll go back a couple of slides again as I'm just illustrating this quickly here, the estimated number of hours, the cost, et cetera. I briefly mentioned this, but just so it's fully clear, the cost in the example you see here on the slide is $333.33. I know it's a bit of a strange number. Parker Dewey will pay the student 90% of that. So $300 of that goes to the student. That $33.33, that is retained by Parker Dewey covering our costs. So 10% is how we keep the lights on, if you will, for that particular program. And to be clear, through this DeLuca Foundation program, that is fully funded. So posting the opportunities, like I mentioned here, will allow you to engage with these students on these micro-internships that are 15 hours, so long as they're from an eligible school. They are, there's no out-of-pocket cost to your organization whatsoever. So hopefully that answers that question, and might be top of mind for a few of you. I know that was a question I certainly had. But with that, I am going to happily turn the floor over to our amazing group of panelists. And first, I want to introduce, I'll go in alphabetical order here with William Cornegay. And if you wouldn't mind, William, just share us a little bit about your role at FAMU, and then we'll introduce Tamisha and jump into the questions.
Well, good morning. My role is thankfully student forwarding, face forwarding. So I talk to a lot of students, help them with their internships, talk about looking for jobs and helping them with their resumes or cover letters. Our students are really thinking for the future. So they'll come to my office just thinking. I had a young lady come to me today. She's like, I need an internship. I need experience. I need to get my resume extended. Can you help me? And I was able to help her to some extent. She'll be returning to me later on today. But they're also very aware of the importance of having a mentor. They know that they need someone who's looking out for their interests, that can teach them things and they can learn from. And also they can share what they learn in the classroom. So they're looking for mentors, networking. They're also when they're looking for employers or places to intern, they mention a lot about ERGs, affinity groups. So they are very aware of what they need to be successful in the future. And they're very, very sharp, polite. I've been very impressed by them. And a lot of employers have been as well.
Thanks, William. And I can attest as well with my interactions with the FAMU students, and they're certainly very grateful as well, and excited to be pursuing these different opportunities as well. I don't want to overstate it, but that's certainly been my impression. Tamisha, could you tell us a little bit about your role?
I am the Senior Manager of People and Culture at Orange Theory Fitness. And essentially what that means is that I am responsible for making it a fun and positive place to work here that, geared towards people development, people success, making sure that our team members feel empowered, and that what they are contributing to our overall business objectives is impactful. So a lot of my work is tied into diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also it also crosses over into people development. So I had the opportunity of, identifying talent development programs and pretty much what do we need to do to keep our team members at Orange Theory Fitness? How am I retaining them, and how are we helping them develop in their careers as well?
Love the job title. Love the focus as well with the mission, and sounds like a really fun job title, and certainly one that does covers a big tent of things.
It does.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, William, back to you. So you've shared a little bit about FAMU students. You're certainly not a stranger to micro-internships, not only to sharing them with students, but could you just talk a little bit about some of the employers that your students really are excited and want to work for?
It's interesting. In my former institution I worked at, students were very focused on names, Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 400 companies. And these students are actually working for these companies. They're working for the Atlanta Hawks, and they're working for Bloomberg and the National Urban League. But they're also aware that they get called experiences at smaller companies, or even companies that are large that you've never heard of before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you hear these companies that are conglomerates, and you say, oh, Unilever owns like hundreds of companies. And so they're really looking for not so much the name, but what they'll be doing. And, they're very also interested in company responsibility. So they want to know if the company is, taking care of the environment, what are their needs are. These are some very conscientious students looking for quality employers and looking for places they can contribute to the employer's needs and wants.
Yeah, I love that. That also seems to be a Gen Z characteristic as a whole, that committed to a larger cause type of things. So just to dig into that a little bit more, would you say in terms of the students that have participated in micro-internships, how is that aligned with that interest? I mean, how does the micro-internship help them be able to unpack whether a company is truly doing what they say they are in terms of representing themselves?
Again, a micro-internship is a great way to get understanding of the company's culture. Other than, you look at a website, a company says, we do this, we believe in this, we believe in this. When that student is working with that company for 15 hours minimum, talking to an actual employee in the course of their business while they're working on these projects, they get to know if that company believes what they're saying, or it's just like, what they put on their website. So it's been great for the students to kind of get a sense of that culture more than just, coming, for a job interview, and they get show the campus, they get to all these things. These students have spent, hours at that company, even though it's virtual, typically virtual, getting understanding of that culture. And so that's something they've taken that. And also they've taken what they've learned during a micro-internship. A young man who had an interview with NASCAR, and he took what he learned from his internship, his micro-internship with NASCAR, to his interview with the NBA franchise. So it's great for that, the fact that they can say, is this saying, well, here's what I do if I was your employer, your employee. They say like, well, when I worked for NASCAR, here's what I did. And I did it, so it's been wonderful for, our students for that, getting that experience that they want and they need, and that networking.
That's great. Well, thank you. And the variety of things that they're able to do in a short period. They don't necessarily need something that's longer, not to say it's not valuable, but that they can sample lots of different things. Tamisha, love to have you do a little bit more of a background for folks who are maybe not as familiar. Tell us a little bit about Orange Theory.
It's so interesting that William mentioned students really, gravitating towards those Fortune 500 companies and the companies that they're most familiar with. Let's be honest, the ones that you typically see in your LinkedIn feed, or you've heard something about them in the news. Well, we're a global brand, and just a little over a decade old, but we're more than our name. We have a higher purpose. We are a fitness organization, but we're more than just fitness. We're more than just a fitness concept. We're more than just a gym. We're more than just your current fitness trend, right? We are a heart rate based, total body, science-backed, technology-tracked fitness organization that really is driving more life in the communities in which we live and operate. Our purpose is to help people live a more vibrant and longer life. And we're doing that through our coach-led, coach-inspired workouts day to day. Again, global brand, over 1,500 studios worldwide. Most of them are franchise owned, so we are a franchise model, but that gives us the opportunity to expand and grow at rapid rates. So again, over a decade old and already 1,500 studios worldwide, just opening our first franchise location, our most recent franchise location in India. So we're expanding, we're growing, and while we may not be on that Fortune 500 list, we are certainly a company to be considered when you're looking for opportunities.
That's awesome. I love that. And one thing I love about a big theme with both of you are saying is that the students and then the community that you're serving at Orange Theory, they like that authentic relationship, that there is direct interaction with the coach in the case of Orange Theory, or with the supervisor for these micro-internship projects. So it's interesting how coming out of the pandemic, we all kind of crave that human-to-human interaction again. So now, Tamisha, when it comes to early career recruiting, what are some of the challenges that you're facing, and whether that be with brand recognition, maybe with recruiting at the corporate level, with the franchise level? I guess your focus is with early career and some of those challenges.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Brand recognition, right? A lot of people are not familiar with Orange Theory Fitness, let alone the fact that we are more than just a gym, or that we do more than just hire coaches or staff to operate our studios. We have a corporate function that is fully functioning, from your in-house counsel all the way over to supply chain. So for us, the challenge has been to really build brand awareness around the other corporate functions that exist with helping to run a global brand. With that said, a lot of our challenges have also been that we are a very lean company. We run very lean, but we also need to be agile and very speedy in some of the work that we do. And so, after joining on with Parker Dewey, we've seen that these micro interns have truly helped us to get meaningful tasks complete, while being able to also accomplish larger projects at the same time, ultimately maximizing impact with small budgets at the corporate level. So, those are some of the challenges that we face, and Parker Dewey is the perfect partner to come in and help us address some of these challenges that we face in the early recruiting stage, especially as it relates to building that employer brand and becoming an employer of choice.
That's awesome. I'm curious to know if you don't mind sharing, was a specific example or just some of the projects that the students have been working on that have allowed you to kind of see those things.
So we first started out with our HR team because we wanted to walk the talk, right? So we signed up for our micro-intern first. And our first micro-intern was really helping with some diversity, equity, and inclusion content. We developed a cultural calendar here in the office. So that's one project that that our micro-intern worked on. Another one, again, in HR, was our HR employee handbook. We typically do not see a lot of internships or people really purposefully landing into HR. So we wanted to identify some opportunities for those students, whether it's companies lacking the internship opportunity or students not quite being interested in HR. We really wanted to target that area and provide an opportunity for students to gain access into HR, to learn that it's more than just your policy and procedures. Although this one was more of the employee handbook option, our employee handbook is a robust document that includes policies around our culture as well. We also had some micro interns supporting our social media team, developing social media content calendars, and even some content for our social media posts, data set analysis, file management, transfers of files from program to program, and just really tasks that are very essential to our day-to-day business operations, but with the amount of time in the day, almost seemingly impossible to get to.
Don't we all have those projects where
Yes.
your desk looks like mine, not enough hours in the day, but
Exactly.
Who started my career out in HR, I do remember that employee handbook project that I tackled as an intern. Not a fun one, but gosh, you learned a lot, which is a great thing about it.
If I can add a little bit more on that before we go on to the next question, that handbook project was actually an opportunity to be creative. We didn't want your standard PDF that you went to some SharePoint site and downloaded. This micro intern actually helped create an interactive website for our team members to be able to access. So it was combining creativity, but also the traditional aspects of a HR employee handbook, which to us made this project perfect for bringing in someone with a fresh perspective, because we were trying to go the non-traditional route in terms of delivering some important information to our team members.
Well, that's fantastic. And I love that you're thinking about it creatively, and hopefully that means folks will read it more actively.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. So that's great. William, turning it over back to you, because I know in my conversations with higher education institutions, They are constantly trying to figure out, okay, students are so busy, students are distracted, or whatever. However, engaging them with micro internships, at least at FAMU, has been a really big success. So I'd love to have you share some of the different materials and I've got a few screenshots, but if you could just elaborate on the methods you've done, and then I'd love to brag on what you've created as well.
Okay, well, I started working on this primarily about probably February, when I really kind of got an interest in, not interest, but kind of figure out what I want to do. My philosophy has always been the more the merrier. And this is such a great program because, the fact that it's paid for by somebody else. So it makes it an easy sell to employers and nonprofits and big business, small businesses. But we have some great resources at FAMU. I worked at a number of institutions. FAMU has the best resources I've had to my avail. And we have like a listserv. And so first off, we had content creation. And my supervisor, Dr. Means, he's just like, students want to see themselves. They want to see their friends. I'm all about school spirited. So, the more orange and green I see on campus, the more rattlers I see on campus, the better off I am. And so take those two things together. We start drafting some materials for the alumni, the employers, and our students. Some consistency on the way it looked. We, of course, as FAMU, you have to use certain colors and, certain fonts. But you see everything we have is orange and green. And we use actual FAMU students wearing FAMU clothing, which makes it a lot more personal to the students. If I see that, if it's, generic photograph from whomever, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I look at it, I said, oh, I had a class in that building. That gets me excited. That gets my attention. And so in a society where everything is just like, 5-minute TikToks and memes and everything goes viral for 3 seconds, anything to get a student's attention is helpful. We have some amazing listservs where I can target certain degree students I can target them by their classification, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, their degree pre-degree program. FAMU has 14 colleges and schools. I can target it by that. I can target faculty. So I have so many, and so by targeting, it's lost a lot less likely to seem like spam. Oh, here's that guy every month. He's sending us, 5,000, 20,000 emails out. So I'm very specific on the spotlights. Sometimes they'll be geared towards, I did one recently that were kind of older. I did ones that I love Tallahassee. And one thing at this program, it's like, when I first started, not only was I using materials, kind of the scattershot approach, but I would go into, and my boss asked me not to do this, but I'd go to like farmers markets and tell them about it. We have a local art district downtown. I go the ones and a lot of them have hired our students because I want to help people who typically wouldn't have access to our students because our students are quality students and as they should expect to get paid. And so if you're a mom and pop place or you're a nonprofit, you can't afford to hire 5 students particularly. Now they can. And so I was all in and I had my supervisor's permission for most things I did. And I was able to just get the word out. That's what it is. It's such a great concept that helps people, international. We've had international people hire our students and local people hire our students. And it's such a great concept that I've been able to tell everybody I can about the opportunities. And then the spotlights, again, students are seeing people that, and this young lady, Raven Countryman, she's just, we had an employee seminar and she was, FAMU did, and she was on that basically because I got to know her through Parker Dewey and she's taken this and run with it. And she's just very successful. They're all very successful. This young man, the one who had an internship with NASCAR. So it really is just personalizing it. It comes down to personalize. People are going to, employers and students, when something goes wrong, which is extremely rare, they're going to contact me and they're going to contact you because I'm associated with micro-internships now, students and to employers. And so when they call you, they email you, return those emails, and often I pass them off to Kristen. Just respond. It's a wonderful way to get to know your students, your faculty, employers, and local community. And that's kind of what I did. I just kind of ran with it.
You certainly did. And what I loved about some of these stories that came through and just getting to know some of these students. I mean, Raven, another example with her is she leveraged the various micro-internship experiences and talked about that and ended up using that to secure what she's doing full time. And in this particular case, it wasn't with a micro-internship supervisor, but she collectively used those experiences to help retarget. And now she landed that opportunity. And Jihad specifically mentions how he talked about his micro-internship experience and to break into the sports industry, not an easy feat. William, I'm curious as well, because your strategy has not just been focused on students, but also on engaging employers. And from what I understand, these students are very, very high demand. And one of the things that you've done, and I'll just share some of these bits of collateral, is hosted webinars for those employers to hear a little bit more about FAMU's micro-internship program, the DeLuca funding, and all of that. You had these really great emails. My personal favorite is this one, as it really does showcase the volume of projects, the amount of opportunities that have directly been, that FAMU students have engaged with. The only thing I don't like about this piece now is the fact that it's already outdated. And unfortunately, as soon as we published, or as you shared it with us, it was already outdated. It was $40,000 earned by the students. Now we're pushing, 50 something, and that's just a month within the last month. So it's, again, really exciting to see. But I'm curious, though, if you could elaborate a bit, why the push to employers? Because if your students already are do very well, I'd love to hear the rationale.
As I said before, our students represent 14 colleges and schools, and they're all great students, but some certain degrees or certain occupations are more in demand than others. So if you're a business student right now, for a while, because of COVID, supply chain was a big thing, computer science with all the AI, you're in demand. What I try and do with some of the larger companies, especially the horizontal ones, to say, you can do a micro-internship for maybe an agricultural student or a journalism student. Students who don't typically get a lot of attention. Some students, we have a very successful Career Expo, but the students that are, again, certain degree programs have a lot more opportunities. So with the employers, I try and expand their train of thought, because these are some great projects. I tell them, there's some pre-made ones, you could tailor to your own needs or create your own entirely new project. And then going back to reach out to employers, I have a meeting sometime next week with the Capital City Chamber of Commerce. And so a lot of times I let employees do my work for me to some extent. I contact the Chamber of Commerce or an association. I say, hey, we have this opportunity here. No expense to you, hire some great students, and ask could you just send this flyer to me? And so it says, oh yeah, I'll put it on the art district. I'll put it on, I'll send it to our manager, and they'll put it on Facebook. And so it kind of goes to some viral. Something happened the other day. And so we're talking to a very large company, and I didn't mention, for some reason, I didn't mention micro-internships, and my coworker did this out for me. And she goes, oh yeah, I somehow heard about this. I got a flyer or something about it. And so my supervisor, she's like, yeah, you've done it. You kind of just, it's grown. But it sells itself. It really does. It's such a great program. And again, and I want to help anybody. Everybody needs assistance. If I could help some little place that has like one employer, she's just trying to help her family and trying to help the community. That's what my heart is. And so I really have, local, I really do try and push it locally. And FAMU has some great again, FAMU's reputation is so strong and it reaches out so far that I could go on to one of our resource websites and say, all the employers say, by the way, some of the marketing materials we've seen, and just send it out and say, hey, if you're interested, we're having a webinar. contact me. Or sometimes they'll bypass me. I'll check every day. I'll check, and there's always some new postings for our students, feature projects on the Parker Dewey website.
That's awesome. And then that spreading the word and getting the reputation about the program, kind of letting it sell itself. It just takes the one champion. And in this case, you and Dr. Means have just done such a phenomenal job. Tanisha, I'd love to just jump back to your perspective. Obviously you mentioned before, HR was the initial focus to have these and host these initial projects. But as you're now working on spreading this throughout the Orange Theory community, if you will, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the ways that you're doing that, and maybe some advice that you might share for others who are wanting to share this with their colleagues.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like other companies, right now we're facing a lot of headwinds, right, in this economic climate. So, of course, there's a need for companies to be judicious and, be very conscious of their cost. And so the micro-internships allow us to do just that. Oftentimes it's headcount that is impacted, right? When you start to face headwinds and you need to really look at that budget, headcount is typically one of the first areas you go to. Not to mention, as I said earlier, we are a very lean company. And so we utilize the micro-internship program to help us post projects that allow us to fill the gaps in our current workforce. It provides a resource for our existing employees and support. Ultimately, we also use the micro-internship program to engage with diverse talent. And not just here in the U.S., but we're hopeful to eventually engage with global talent, right? And explore the potential of young professionals. Again, expanding or building our brand awareness with that particular group. And we can do that on a trial basis through the micro-internship program. We kind of see it as courting, an extended interview, if you will, to make sure that it's a mutual benefit for both us and the potential team member that we're looking to bring in to the organization. Some advice that I might give for first-time users of the internship program, if you're looking to find a way to introduce it to the organization, we took the approach of having it funded through my DEI budget. So to help alleviate the anxiety, that is often associated with whose cost center is this going to hit? Well, my managers don't have to worry about that because I'm funding it for them. And it also allows me to kind of help drive my DEI agenda as well. So there's no cost associated with the hiring manager's budget. It comes out of mine, so they don't have to worry about that. And they're able to get the support that they need on their team. They're able to get meaningful work done without having to worry about the cost hitting their budget. So that would be a really probably the best advice that I can give in this instance, because we've seen that it's worked for us. It was slow at the beginning, but we've certainly seen an uptick, especially as people start to realize, wait, I don't have to pay for this support. You're going to cover the cost for me. It's really been impactful in helping the program really take off.
That's awesome. And Tanisha, what's great too is that you were able to provide the budget with the DeLuca program. That's one less obstacle as well for anyone who is already starting to think, okay, I want to do that, but budget. Again,
exactly.
You don't have to. And
it's that budget, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But in this case, let's see. I think one early adopter of the program said it's kind of like we get to be Oprah. Just here's your micro-internship.
Exactly.
So you have whatever analogy you like, or Christmas in July, if that's your thing. But yeah, it's just a really one less obstacle, hopefully, in those conversations. But I'm glad you brought up your DE&I budget in this case. Diversity is obviously top of mind for many organizations, and I'd love to see and hear a bit more about how you were able to justify micro-internships fitting into your overall strategy around DE&I and inclusive hiring, especially at the early career level.
I think the first obvious benefit of using the micro-internship program to advance our DEI strategy is the widening of our talent pool. We're able through this program to cast out a net far and wide, right? And increases the diversity in our talent pool. The program connects us with talent all around the world, and not just students, but also recent graduates from various backgrounds and experiences. So that has helped us to increase our brand awareness and increase the interest in potential talent working for us. Also, it gives us access to underrepresented groups who oftentimes would have no idea who Orange Theory Fitness is. I can guarantee you, if you went to Liberty City here in South Florida, there's no Orange Theory on the corner. So therefore, the likelihood of a student even knowing what an Orange Theory Fitness studio is very highly unlikely. This platform allows us to access those underrepresented groups and build brand awareness within those communities. And then in turn, we're able to offer them unique experiences that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to have access to. So equitable access and opportunity, not just for the students, but also for us as well. And I mean, ultimately, we use the platform to boost our awareness, and we engage in diverse, talent communities, and we're able to strengthen and contribute to the long-term growth of our company by doing so. And I saw that Jeff mentioned our employee resource groups in the chat. We've been able to also leverage them in the micro-internship platform as well, and really use them as a kind of like that focus group to help us identify schools to target, whether it's their own alma mater or maybe a school that was in their hometown backyard. We're able to gain access to those universities through the micro-internship program as well. Again, growing access for everyone involved in this opportunity.
That's awesome. And what I love too is that, you mentioned the variety and really using it to increase awareness and, and so on.
Exactly.
Even, the DeLuca program, while it's not open to students at all the thousands of schools that are in the network, still got a good 400 or 500 schools to choose from. So,
Exactly.
lots of folks, lots of talent, lots of geographic diversity, as well as, of course, the diversity of majors and student academic years and so on. So it's exciting. I wrap it up towards the end. I know folks have questions. Please feel free to put them in the chat if you want to ask specifically things of our panelists. Just have a couple quick questions for the group here, our panelists. If you hear employers say, I don't think I need a micro intern there. My existing strategy for recruiting students, we're good. We don't need this. What would you tell them? And William, I'd love to have you turn that to you, and then we'll ask Tanisha.
That's fairly rare. I've only had only one employer tell me that they thought they really couldn't use it. And, sometimes you assume, and I think it's more that their internship program wasn't geared towards the being online. They had a more in-person internship. And sometimes programs are just kind of, they're kind of not very flexible. Things are going very well for them. And nothing's for everyone. And so you kind of let that go. So that's, like I said, that's extremely rare. I remember it happened one time. Often they say I have to go talk to, bureaucracy. I got to talk to, we got to be committee and talk about it. And sometimes, I don't hear back from them. I go online and say, oh, so-and-so posted a project. That's great. I'd say from a face-to-face, the ones I talk to locally, even though Jeff he's made it extremely simple to use. I'm going to find out today. I'm trying to make my first post. He called it Jeff proof, but it's extremely simple. But I think there's still, when I talk to people, somebody thinks it's too good to be true. I had some people call me and say like, oh, I saw it, I read it, and I thought I was like, it's in writing, it's my logo, everything's there. But still, they say they're shocked that it's such a great opportunity for them. And sometimes they posted like I had a young lady her goal was to help African Americans learn how to swim, children. which is, I think it's amazing. And she ended up hosting five micro-internships. But she first saw, she thought it was too good to be true. But she said, I'll give you a call just to find out. But typically, I think they all think it's going to take a long, another person who I've talked to locally. So how do relationships? I go back and check on them, see how they're doing, try to get them to say, you got 5, you got till December, let's get this done. I'm trying to, they're telling me that in the beginning, they were sure it'd be time consuming. They thought that it'd be difficult to actually post a project. So typically, once you get them to actually go online and they see, not only is it fairly simple, there's so much support from yourself and from Annie and my buddy Jordan, that it is a very simple process. If there's anything that goes wrong, like I said, to come back to me. If I can't help them, I go to you. It gets rectified very quickly. So I think a lot of them, they realize what's available to them is just, are they going to take that 15 minutes to create a project? And then once that, are they going to have the time to assist that student in doing a job that meets both their needs, and students proud of, and they can actually utilize for their nonprofit or business. We've had some, another one comes to my mind is we had a called STEM for Girls, and they were on campus at FAMU, and I went over there and had my flyers, hand them out. And she ended up having like 5 micro-interns for her camp. And so it's just great that the fact that says, you are trying to diversify all different types of industries, that I've been able to use this just walking across campus and help people who are trying to get more ethnic minorities in these different, all industries. And there's something you're doing that you're going to talk about later on. I'm extremely excited about. So it's been very good for me. And I think the vast majority of people could find a way, have a need, have something done that they haven't got it around to, and they're getting paid who knows how much an hour, when it really, that money and time would be best used to have a student develop a flyer or something.
Yep, that's awesome. Tamisha, same question for your colleagues. What would you tell them if they say, yeah, I don't think I have these projects, or I don't really know if I'm finding the value in this?
I would say, echoing William, I'm not sure if it's more so we don't need it or that we don't really understand how much we need a micro-internship program or the benefits that it could bring to an organization. To me, sufficient sounds like it can be better. The question that I would then in turn ask them is, are you meeting your DEI needs? How are you even expanding your talent pipeline? What is your current recruitment strategy? And then that, I would say, integrating micro-internships into the overall approach can provide unique advantages, just like it has for us. It promotes diversity, it promotes efficiency, and ultimately a positive employer brand. I would also share with them that a comprehensive recruitment strategy that embraces multiple avenues of ways to acquire talent can lead to a more robust and successful hiring process in the long term.
Wise words. That's awesome.
I want to say something about what Tamisha said as well. Talent acquisition, and again, certain degrees are certainly in high demand. Often, by the time these employers are talking to our students, like especially our juniors and seniors, they've already been connected with a certain organization or business. They've been an intern there. So now employers are starting to look at sophomores. I had one employer who's actually had freshmen. And so these projects can be geared towards a freshman or more likely a sophomore who may not have extensive academic knowledge of the subject, but just enough where they can contribute to a company by completing a project. And now that student is engaged with that company. So when they are juniors and seniors and there's multiple companies looking to bring them on board, they're like, yeah, you're a great company, but ever since I was my sophomore year, I've been talking to this company and I like their culture. They believe in me, I believe in them, and I think I'm going to I'm going to go continue that direction.
Awesome points. Well, I'm going to jump to the very end here, just in case folks have to hop to another meeting or leave us a moment, just to give you the final quick summary for what's next for again, those of you who are just want to get started. The link again to post a project is visible on the slide. That's what the QR code will lead to. And then you'll see a link for these resources on number 2. That's for our higher education partners, and that there's a ton of pre-made marketing collateral to help you easily share this with students, employers, faculty, alumni, you name it. That's exclusively about the DeLuca funding. So hopefully we'll make it real straightforward and easy for you to start getting those folks up and running and ready to go. I'm going to real quickly turn to my colleagues in the chat if there's any questions that we maybe would be beneficial to mention live, and then we'll wrap up. So Jeffrey or Annie, if there's any comments, questions, I don't think you both have been kept very busy, but I'm sure Jeffrey may want to say something. Please.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the questions were great. We tried to answer them along the way. If we didn't hit your question, feel free to email any of us direct. Feel free to write it in the chat again. If we missed it, we'll try to hit it now. I also just need to say thank you to Tamisha and William. I mean, you guys have been amazing, such amazing partners in this program. I think, again, there was a comment in the chat about from one of the schools, like, is there a limit on the number of micro-internships through this grant for any specific school? And the answer is no. And again, William's a great example of this, that he saw how this grant could support his initiatives, both in deepening relationships with existing employers, building new employer relationships, supporting the students in the career exploration, and he ran with it. In the same way, again, Tamisha, I think the examples you shared about how you can use this to help the current employees at Orange Theory sort of learn about this model and build the relationships and look beyond the focus, like it's awesome. And I mean, I'm humbled and honored to be working with both of you. I mean, this is what makes our job fun. So thank you.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
This has really helped me personally and professionally. This has been a great experience for me as well.
It's just such an honor, as Jeffrey said, to support you, your organizations, your students, just the whole, truly that. I mean,
yeah. And to some of the questions or comments, I mean, I think, William, you mentioned it and it came up in the chat, like, where's the catch? There isn't one. Mm-hmm. And that's the fun part of what we did, that this is one of those few places where everyone's interests are aligned. College students want to get experience and get the right role and figure out what is the right pathway. Employers want to hire more effectively. They want to create equitable pathways. Colleges and universities want to see their students get great jobs. Like, everyone's interests are aligned. This just makes so much sense because it plays into everyone's goals, and there is no catch. Again, when you have interests that are aligned by all the stakeholders, you can create these win-win-win outcomes, and that's all we've tried to do. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to work with both of you, and for all the people in the chat, thanks so much for the opportunity to work with those of you we're working with, and to get to know those of you we're not working with yet, but hopefully will be soon.